Jalen Hurts' new contract. I thought, let's sit down, look at Jalen Hurts, look at his contract, and kind of see how that affects Tua Tagovailoa, but not just Tua Tagovailoa, how that kind of affects all the quarterbacks drafted in 2020. What is up, Finn fans? So, Jalen Hurts got a fat contract. We're going to talk about that. And I did a lot of research. Real quick, boom. Spoilers. I did a lot of research. And we're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts' contract, his ranking of each of the years of his salary cap hit. I'm going to be looking at Tua, how that affects Tua. But I'm also going to kind of look at all four of these quarterbacks and see who's next and who's getting more and who's doing this and who's that and blah, 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 blah. A lot we're going to be looking at. But before we jump into that, I want to show you real quick. Robbie Anderson's contract details have come out. And I just want to show you guys that real quick. It's right here. Aaron Wilson tweeted out saying, Dolphins wide receiver chosen Anderson deal is a 1-year deal for $1.165 million salary and $152,500 signing bonus. That is nothing. The Miami Dolphins see potential in him. The Miami Dolphins see the speed he has and see what he could do his first year with the Panthers when his head's on straight. They gave him a 1-year deal, and this is like, I think this is below vet minimum, a 1-year deal to say, come into camp, come into OTAs, come into mini camps, and show us that you're year one with the Panthers. Show us you're that 1,000-yard receiver. Because if you're not, and if you get in trouble, if you slack, if you're a nuisance in the locker room, if the leaders of the team and the vets and everything complain and that, you're gone. So we're giving you a chance to stay in the NFL, to play in the NFL. That's what this contract says to me. All right, we'll give you a shot. It's a $1.165 million contract. And I still expect them to move on from Cedric Wilson Jr. and take that cap savings and put it towards another running back. But you guys know, I think I've talked about that ad nauseum. I hope it gets done. I'm very excited. So now let's look at Jalen Hurts, right? He signed a contract. He signed a very big contract. But is it a very big contract? He signed a 5-year, $255 million contract. But like I tell you, every time we talk about contracts, whether it's with the Dolphins, whether it's with any NFL or whoever, I don't know if that's how that works with the other sports, you look at the guaranteed money, right? Because you look at 5 years, $255 million. I think that averages like $55 million a year, average base salary, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So you look at that, you're like, wow, he's getting paid ridiculous money. You got to look at the guarantee because he's only getting $179 million in guaranteed money, which is like, real quick math, 80-something million, almost 90 million less from his total of 255. Also, you got to look at the salary cap numbers. That's where this tweet comes in. Because this isn't available yet on Over the Cap, on Spot Track, nothing. Neither was Chosen Anderson, Robbie Anderson's contract. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts' salary cap numbers for the next 4 seasons after today's $255 million contract extension. He's making $6 million this year. Well, the cap hit is $6 million this year. Next year, 13.56. The year after, 21.77, and the year after, 31.77. So you go and initially look at the 5-year, $255 million contract, and you're like, wow, did they overpay for him? Next year, he will be the 19th ranked quarterback when it comes to salary cap. He will be the 13th ranked in 2025. And in 2026, he will be the 10th ranked. Now, those will move. He might even go down more when Herbert and when Burrow get their contract extensions, or when these other quarterbacks get their contract extensions. He might go down more. But as of today, 19th in 2024, 13th in 2025 and 10th in 2026. And it's funny, when I first saw Jalen Hurts' contract, I was like, Lamar's probably like, pay me. And then I saw this tweet and I was like, that's smart. And somebody asked how. And Jason of Over the Cap says signing bonuses and triple option bonuses structure. They give him a lot in signing bonuses. They gave him a lot to have that smart room in the salary cap by giving him these signing bonuses. So he doesn't actually cost a lot towards the cap. So this contract with Jalen Hurts is actually incredibly smart. That being said, I'm going to talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit longer, and then we are going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa, and then we're going to talk about the other quarterbacks. So Jalen Hurts in 2021, 3,144 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, a 61.3 completion percentage, 87.2 passer rating. He rushed 784 yards for 10 touchdowns. After that year, in 2021, there was a lot of social media, there's a lot of reporters, and the team kind of saw what the Eagles were doing, and it was the same situation where they're stocking up draft picks if Jalen Hurts doesn't pan out. If Jalen Hurts doesn't pan out in 2023, they are going to draft a quarterback because they have multiple firsts, they can move up, all that stuff. And I'm not kidding you. I went and Googled it. The Eagles need to move on from Jalen Hurts. That was January 17, 2022. The Eagles will be foolish to move on from Jalen Hurts. That was February. Have the Eagles already decided to move on from Jalen Hurts is another article. There was a ton of articles talking about if Jalen Hurts doesn't pan out, we're going to probably move on from him. They don't have the 5th-year option. He was a second-round pick. So they're probably going to move on from him. Not going to give him a contract extension. They're going to move on from him. And I also think that's why, but his contract, they probably would stuck with him this year, but they probably would have drafted his replacement because it's a $6.6 million cap hit this year. It's nothing. So they probably would have drafted his replacement. So what did the Eagles do? Well, obviously the Eagles wanted to win a Super Bowl. Every NFL team wants to win a Super Bowl. They traded for A.J. Brown. You know, he already had Smith. They go out and they get him. He already had the tight end. They go out and they bolster up that offensive line. They go out and get the defense. They trade for the safety. They do so much. They just put every little. We are going to have the best team in the NFL. And on defense, they were second ranked. On offense, they were third ranked. Literally, you can't go wrong here. You can't. We're just going to put all the pieces around him. And he went in 2022. He had 3,701 passing yards. He had about 600 more, 22 touchdowns. He had 6 more, 6 interceptions, 3 less, 66.5 completion percentage. He went up by about 5%, and 101.5 passer rating. That went up by about 20-ish points, 70 rushing yards, and 13 touchdowns. And I will say a lot of those 13 touchdowns came from their quarterback sneak where they push you in the back. But a huge jump in production. Now, the passing yards, man, right? Tua had 3,548, and he missed 5 games. 5 games. So if Tua didn't miss the 5 games, even if he had bad games, he would have had more passing yards. But you still saw the production jump after they put literally the perfect team around Jalen Hurts to the point where their journey to the Super Bowl was cruise control. You faced the Giants, destroyed them. You faced the 49ers and 4 different quarterbacks, destroyed. It was just cruise control to the Super Bowl. And if not for an iffy call on that holding, I think it was holding or pass interference, might have won the Super Bowl. So your quarterback comes out and he does better. You put everything around him. You put him in a great system. You give him the weapons. You give him the offensive line, and he comes out and he does better. You pay the man, especially because he's going to be a free agent next year. And if he does this again, and if he continues to improve, it's going to cost you more. because the way they structured his contract is really good. So that is the Jalen Hurts story. Now talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Tua, he was in the same boat as Jalen Hurts in 2021. Everyone and their mother, and I'm one, that says if Tua doesn't come out and ball out and show that he can be consistent and show that he can lead this team and show that he can put this team on his back, they're probably going to try to replace him. Whether it's get another quarterback, whether it's draft, whether it's whatever, they will probably try to replace him in 2023. He was in the same exact boat as Jalen Hurts. The only difference is what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts and what the Dolphins did with Tua is a little different. Dolphins went out, got Tyreek Hill. Dolphins had Jalen Waddle. Dolphins went out, got Teron Armstead. And the defense wasn't there, right? They thought, we're going to stick. The defense wasn't the problem. It was the offense. So we get the offensive coordinator / head coach. And the offense worked, or the defense didn't. And the offensive line was still a problem. So Tua got hurt. But when he wasn't hurt, he was on pace to have a very good season. He was on pace to have better numbers than Hurts in passing. He was on pace to have similar numbers to Burrow and Herbert. I'm not saying better. I'm saying similar. Because if you look at Tua's yards per game, it was like third ranked in the NFL. He was on pace, if he never got hurt, to have a very good season. But again, he got hurt. And I know a lot of people were like, are you going to overlook the Chargers, the 49ers, and the second half of the Packers game? No. But if you honestly are going to sit here and tell me that if I go through Burrow, Herbert, Hurts, Mahomes, name any quarterback, and tell me I'm not going to find 2 bad games in a season, you're crazy. So now, again, this contract, and the reason I'm making this video is, can Tua do something to get himself more money than Jalen Hurts? And that's where it's interesting. And that's where the title of this video comes in. Because Jalen Hurts is a multi-tier quarterback, right? When you look at just passing stats, they're good, right? I'm not saying they're bad, they're good. But Tua playing 12 games has equal passing stats to Jalen Hurts, right? Where Jalen Hurts got his money and where Jalen Hurts has the little advantage is the X factor of his legs, right? Because he had 784 rushing yards in 2021 and he had 760 rushing yards in 2022. The 13 touchdowns, again, I put a little asterisk next to him because a bunch of those touchdowns were the QB sneaks on the goal line. But he has his legs. He has that mobility. He has, running around and doing all that stuff. So Tua needs to show that he deserves a contract extension, right? Because Jalen Hurts showed it last year. He got better. They put the perfect team around him, and he got better. So now what the Dolphins are trying to do is they're trying to do the same. And I kept saying this to you guys. Look at the contract. 2-year window. 2-year window, this year and next year. Because in 2025, a lot of players' contracts aren't guaranteed, and the Dolphins can move on from a lot of players. Tyreek Hill said he already wants to retire. We'll see if that actually happens. Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead, Jalen Ramsey, all of these guys' contracts have the clauses where they can move on from 2025 and get a lot of cap space. So that being said, the Dolphins right now are in an all-in mode, right? You keep hearing about Dalvin Cook. And the only thing it seems like they're not in all in is the flipping offensive line. But Tua, this is where he's probably taking a note of, he's probably happy for his former teammate in Jalen Hurts. He's probably sitting back and saying, get that, get your money. I'm proud of you. But on the back of his head, he's like, I need to do better. I need to stay on the field and I need to continue to get better if I want a contract anywhere near him. And that's where the how does Jalen Hurts contract affect Tua? It better push him. It better push him to do better and be better, right? Now I looked at the Kyle Shanahan offense and I looked at some quarterbacks their first year there and their second year there, because this is Tua's second year in a Kyle Shanahan-esque offense. This is the second year in the same offense. Because in 2020, different offense. 2021, different offense. 2022, different offense. This is the first time he is in the same offense, one year after the other. So he already knows the cadences. He already knows the terminology. He already knows the audibles, the shifts. He knows everything. So now he doesn't have to focus on the playbook. He can now focus on the second tier, then the second part of his quarterback play and quarterback development. Like, you look at Matt Schaub, right? The Texans, Kyle Shanahan was their offensive coordinator from 2008 to 2009. In 2008, Matt Schaub, 3,043 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a 66.1 completion percentage, 92.7 passer rating. It's not bad. The following year, Matt Schaub had 1,700 more passing yards, 4,770 yards, 29 touchdowns, which is 14 more, 15 interceptions. He went up a little bit, 67.9 completion percentage. That went up, and a 98.6 passer rating. So in the second year of the Kyle Shanahan offense, he got better. Now, I wanted to do the Washington Commanders. He was their offensive coordinator from 2010 to 2013 with his father. They had 3 different quarterbacks. So I couldn't really, they had McNabb, and then I think they had Grossman, and then in 2012, they had RG3. There was no continuity, so I couldn't do that one. So then the Atlanta Falcons, 2015 to 2016. Matt Ryan, 4,591 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, a 66.3 passer rating, completion percentage, and an 89 passer rating. That is year 1 in the Kyle Shanahan passing offense. Second year, he went up by about 400 passing yards, 4,944 yards, 38 touchdowns, went up by 17 touchdowns, went down by 9 interceptions, 7 interceptions. His completion percentage went up by 3.3% to 69.9%, and his passer rating skyrocketed from 89 to 117.1. And we saw the same thing from Jimmy Garoppolo, and I wanted to do the 40, but that man kept getting injured. He had the good year where in 2019 where he had 3,978 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 69.1 completion percentage, and 102 passer rating. But I couldn't see if that was from something or if that he got better off that, because he kept getting injured. He never played a full season after 2019. And so many people wanted the Dolphins to get him. It just made the man can't stay healthy, right? So for Tua to get that cash, that bag, that dinero, he needs to do what Matt Schaub and Matt Ryan did and skyrocket that second year in the Kyle Shanahan passing offense, or the Kyle Shanahan offense in general. It's a form of it, and it's a type of it with Mike McDaniel, but he needs to do better. And I have some confidence he will, right? Because in 2020, he had stigmas and he got better, and in 2021, he had some stigmas. He got better last year. Now it's about him staying healthy and him continuing to improve. If he could stay healthy, if he could continue to improve, and I'm telling you, my opinion, again, this is my opinion, if Tua plays a full 17-game season, I honestly think that he's going to put up ridiculous numbers. Because, like I said, look at what he did in his 12 games last year. You add another 5 on there, he's going to be up there. And I'm going to talk about the other quarterbacks in just 2 seconds. So that's where the impact of Jalen Hurts' contract affects Tua. He now has that in the back of his head. That my former teammate, a guy I took his job in Alabama, just got a big contract, just went to the Super Bowl. That fight in him, he's probably like, all right, I need to do better. Right? That's why he did the jiu-jitsu, so he can stay on the field. He knew as much as all of us knew. Once Tua's not on the field, the team was different. The team was losing. Constantly losing without him on the field. So, and then you look at the other quarterbacks, right? Who's next? Because you have 2 quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert that can easily get their 5th-year contract picked up by May 2nd. But you look at their rankings, right? I took all 4 of them, right? When it comes to passing yards, Jalen Hurts was 10th with 3,701 passing yards. Joe Burrow was 5th with 4,475 yards. Justin Herbert was 2nd. I don't think we're surprised by that, by 4,739 yards. And Tua was 12th with 3,548. Again, but I'm telling you, do the math. And again, it could go here or there, so you can add 100, take 100 away if you want. If Tua played a full 17 games, he would have had over 4,000 passing yards. He would have been really close to Joe Burrow. And Justin Herbert would have been real close. You look at passing touchdowns. You have Jalen Hurts ranked 9th with 22 passing touchdowns. You had Joe Burrow ranked tied second with 35 passing touchdowns. And you had Justin Herbert and Tua tied for 6th with 25 touchdowns each. Though this draft class did pretty well this past year. You had completion percentage. That's where Tua dropped off, and that's where he needs to work on, and that's where he needs to develop, because he was 22nd. The year before, he was incredibly accurate. He was up there. But 22nd with 64.8 completion percentage. Justin Herbert was 3rd with 68.2. Joe Burrow was 2nd with 68.3. And Jalen Hurts was 13th with 66.5. Now, 66.5 is still good, but it was on the lower end. And then you look at the passer rating. You have Jalen Hurts, 101.5, ranked 4th. Joe Burrow with 101.8, ranked 6th. Justin Herbert with a 93.2, ranked 12th. And you Tua Tagovailoa with 105.5, ranked 1st. And then you have, Jalen Hurts just went to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl, and then the next year went to the AFC Championship. And then it's like Herbert and Tua are kind of like, when it comes to the team accolades and when it comes to getting into the playoffs and playing and stuff, they're like, meh, right? Justin Herbert finally got into the playoffs this past year, but just a horrible second half of a game by the entire Chargers team. One and done, got blown out, and was part of one of the craziest comebacks in wild card. And then Tua, the Dolphins made the playoffs this year, but he was too injured to play. Or was it? Go back and watch yesterday's video at the press conference. So honestly, the next guy who's going to get a contract extension, I think Joe Burrow is going to make more than Justin Herbert when it comes to the next contract. I think Joe Burrow is going to set the market with these quarterbacks, because he went to the Super Bowl, and then the following year he went to the AFC Championship game. Yes, he had the wide receivers in the running game, but it was that consistency with him. Whereas Justin Herbert, he had the numbers and he had the accolades and he had the awards and this and that, but it never equated to anything, right? You can have fancy numbers. You could throw for 5,000, 6,000, 100,000 yards and 400 touchdowns and 20 million interceptions. But if you can't make it into the playoffs, or if you're one and done in the playoffs, those numbers mean nothing. You know who you can ask that? Dan Marino. I'm pretty sure Dan Marino would give up all of those numbers to get himself some rings. Because a lot of these quarterbacks that have, Tom Brady did have the numbers, but he more had the rings. It was more to him about getting the rings. Like, doesn't need to have flashy numbers. He did with Randy Moss, but so you see what I'm saying? So to me, Joe Burrow's next, and with the fat contract, I think he'll make more than Justin Herbert. But Tua, again, what this is all about is he needs to prove it this year. He needs to play a full season, and he needs to continue to get better. There can't be a fallback. There can't be a lapse. He can't miss more than a minimum 3 games, because then all of a sudden the dependency is in question. Can we depend on him? And then it's the thought of, well, should we move on? So that's what I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed all of the research I did. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts on everything I said. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. First mock draft tomorrow. Again, comment below for the site you want me to use. And if it's a site that has certain stats or certain settings, comment that with it. And tomorrow is the first mock draft, no trades. And then I'll do another mock draft video with trades. But other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like usual, stay classy if it's up.